Have you ever stopped to think about the many uses oil has in our day-to-day lives? Oil gives us hot water, heated homes, and electricity, to name only a few of its best-known uses. But oil is much more. Did you know that everything from your jumper, to a DVD, to a scented candle, comes from oil? Even a water bottle, or the detergent you use to wash your clothes. Whether by land, sea or air, the uses of oil are endless. The gasoline and diesel that power farm equipment are products of refined oil, and the crops that equipment is harvesting, all protected by oil-based fertilizers and herbicides. It is the fuel that lets us take to the skies and sail the 7 seas. Oil even helps to keep us safe and healthy. Without oil, hospitals wouldn't have such refined products as everyday pills and nylon bandages, or such essential devices as saline solution bags and surgical tubing. Everywhere you turn, oil is playing a part. It is an essential part of our lives. Even just a simple stroll down the street is improved by oil. The asphalt under your feet, the traffic lines painted in the street, even the coating on terraces and patios. All brought to you by oil. And of course, where would we be without the gasoline and lubricants used to drive our vehicles? Oil really is a fascinating product. Why not learn more about the many ways oil benefits you? Come explore the world of oil on our website. You may be surprised.
So there's this misconception people have because most of the oil that we use in the world, 90% of it is used for energy. But the other 10% of it drives everything you just saw in that video. So let's just quickly go over the sort of applications of oil other than making energy. So the first one we're going to look at are polymers. And polymers are basically what you're doing is linking together, sort of like Lego, what we call monomers. And so these are just molecules that are linked together to form longer strands. So for example, when you string things together like that, you get a polymer like nylon, which can be used to make clothing, or polyester, which can be used to make clothing. Those are two types of oil-based fibers. And you can also make styrofoam. So you can imagine when you look into one of these images, like of styrofoam, that really what you have is a bunch of monomers linked together to make that object. Same thing with insulation. This is called fiberglass insulation. So these long fibers are made of polymers linking together hydrocarbons from the oil. Some other applications are medicines. The production of them in the process will use some chemicals from oil. Cosmetics as well. Our fertilizers, our pesticides, our detergents, lubricants to help make engines run, wax, and also TNT. So these are many of the uses. 10% of the oil is used for those types of purposes. Now we're quickly just going to take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of using one of these as a stock. So if you're looking for reasons to use oil as an energy source, so we're comparing because we're looking at 90% is used for energy, 10% is used as the chemical feedstock. What are the arguments for using it for one purpose versus the other? So reasons to use oil for energy is that the oil has a high energy content. The fuel that you make from it has a high energy content. So in other words, you can fill your tank with gasoline, and that can keep you going for a long ways. There's a lot of energy stored in the oil or the gasoline. There's a shortage of alternatives, so we haven't seen enough of the alternatives like solar and wind getting out there. Alternatives are expensive, and so oil is relatively cheap, so we're not seeing the consumers leaning towards going towards the alternatives. So oil is still being voted for with consumer dollars. It's a well-established technology, so it's very pervasive, and since it's well-established, it's also cheaper. It's easy to store because it's a liquid. The energy is just stored at room temperature inside a tank. Whereas other things like solar, it's difficult to store the energy. You have to use batteries. It's also relatively easy to transport. You can transport it in tanks and pipelines. And it, again, related to the cheapness, it produces energy at a reasonable rate. Some arguments against using it, so in other words, arguments for using it as a chemical feedstock, is that it's a limited supply. So if we burn it and it converts into water and carbon dioxide, then it's gone. But if we use it as a chemical feedstock, we can start recycling some of it, and it can be reused. And in the process, it doesn't end up whatever, like for example, making your fibers that can be reused. It's not going to be adding as much to the greenhouse gases. Non-renewable, another reason, there's not going to be more of it, so we don't want to use it up and sort of waste it by converting it to gases. And of course, combustion causes the global warming or the greenhouse gases. Combustion also produces acidic gases. So for example, nitrogen dioxide is one we looked at in the past.